What's going on, guys? It's me, Parksy here, your coach of the Armaldos, bringing it back to smash it today here from the DGBA Season 4 Draft Breakdown. So your Armaldos are back in DGBA as I'm going to do the wee bunny ear thing as a returning, no, not a returning coach, a new addition or a new coach. I do that in quotations because I have been in Season 3 for a week, but that's because some Dumbo has decided, you know what, we're not going to make it a battle every week. We're going to make a week 3 days. So that means that I had to do a battle every 3 days, and also I had exams. I had like 8 tests in a week, which was pretty darn insane. As you guys know, I'm going through quite a lot of tests currently, so it's quite hard to record. I'm actually recording this in like half an hour free time I have before I have to do like euthanasia revision for my test tomorrow. But if you guys do enjoy the video, like always, any moment, like, subscribe, and comment down below. The DGBA actually has its own official YouTube channel, so I will be linking that down in the description, as well as every coach that has a YouTube channel in the DGBA. And I really cannot wait to see what comes out of the DGBA. People are saying it might be the best season ever, and I really hope so. But I just want to tell you guys a quick recap of what this season entailed. So most leagues, I think every single league I've been in so far, it's literally been just a draft where it's tiered, so you'd have a tier 1, a tier 2, a tier 3, and everything would be simple. But this style is like an NPL. Basically, you get 120 points and you have to spend that on 11 Pokemon. You cannot spend it on like 10 or 9 Pokemon. You have to spend 11 Pokemon, minimum and maximum. You can't go under, you can't go above, obviously. And Pokemon are graded between, I believe, 20 points is maximum and 1 is minimum. So like, you'd have like your really good Pokemon like the Titanium Manaphy at like 18, which are really good Pokemon in Draft League format. And then you have like your ones which are like, I don't even know, just like your Weedles and stuff, like things that are really terrible. And actually, a surprising amount of 1 point Pokemon actually went, but luckily I did not have to pick up any Pokemon that cost 1 point. In fact, I think my team is really good, and I feel like people really have to watch out for it. Now, there are a few problems in my team that I'm going to be going through, but I definitely think I can patch it up, and my team, so far as I can see, has a really good matchup. I'm going to go quickly transition into my logo, which has been created by Has. I just had to give a quick shout out. He has just been doing so much for the league. He's really helped out people's intros. He's spent a lot of time trying to adjust the points for the NPL. And he's just been working really hard, trying to make sure this is probably the best draft that new people will experience. And he wants new people to enjoy this and stay on, and old people to have that. He wants it to have that enjoyment, like that freshness of draft. It's not like the same thing over and over again. But this is my logo. It's really cool. This Armaldo up here was originally supposed to be in like Gaelic, but I can't translate Gaelic. I just speak English, so it was like Ard something. But I just said, if you don't mind, could you change it to Armaldo? Because I don't know what language that is, which is probably really offensive, but he did it, and it looks fantastic. It looks amazing. I really like the fossil. The Armaldo is just so awesome in the wee badge. We're going to be going through my picks. So each one is going to be labelled obviously with their name, with the rounds I picked them, and the points that they cost. You have to consider this is Ultra Sun and Moon, and in a snake style format there were 16 teams, so there was a lot of sniping going on. So going into the first round, I kind of wanted a good Pokemon that got a bit buffed by Ultra Sun and Moon. And my Pokemon that I originally wanted to get was Landorus Therian at 18 points. Now, Landorus Therian, I feel like was a little bit overrated in the past 2 generations, X and Y, and Oras, and even Sun and Moon, just because it set up rocks. It's a very diverse Pokemon, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like it wasn't my cup of tea. But since it got defogged due to the new move tutors in Ultra Sun and Moon, it was just an incredible Pokemon. It just gave it so much to do, and I really wanted to pick it up. Unfortunately, Luke picked it up, so I was like, okay, what else can I do? So I kind of got half sniped because next up I was looking at Tornadus there and I was like, oh, I might pick up this Pokemon. But then, who took it? Someone else took it, so unfortunately I didn't have my Tornadus Therian. But this Pokemon was originally going to be my round 2 pick, but since I was 8th pick, of course, because I have horrible luck, I actually picked this Pokemon up first. It does get default and a good amount of utility. It is, of course, Rotom Wash. So Rotom Wash is my round 1 pick. As you can see, it costs 12 points. And Rotom Wash is an incredible Pokemon only if you take into consideration its Levitate ability. It only has one weakness, which is Grass. And some teams don't even have a really good Grass type. Like, I was looking down teams at the end of the draft and it's like, wow, it's really surprised me, like, how little, like, teams did not have very good responses to Rotom Wash, and that's what I'm happy about. This Pokemon gets off, it can either give off fast volt switches with a Scarf, or it can give off slow volt switches if it is a tanky Pokemon. It does get well, I wouldn't say reliable recovery, but it does get recovery in rest and paint sweat, as I was gonna say. It isn't the most reliable, but of course it can heal up nevertheless. It can use tricks, so if I'm going to do Specs or Scarf, I can trick it, and if my opponent swaps out into a Violet Pokemon, that's basically its day ruined. But Rotom Wash can function in multiple ways. It can be a physical wall, special wall, it can be Specs or Scarf, as I said previously, and it's just a very good Pokemon to draft around because all you really need to take into consideration is the fact that it's weak to Grass and try and buff that up a bit. Maybe get a strong physical type attacker, and maybe something that can cover that ground weakness, because Levitate is kind of, it's a good ability, but it kind of doesn't work if your opponent is running Mold Breaker or Terravolt. So I really had to be careful of that. So I took those steps into consideration, and I just have to say that there aren't really that many good switch-ins to Rotom Wash. It might not seem it, but not many teams have mons that get good grass coverage and appreciate either being Thunder Wave, Toxic, or Burned, because that's what's so nice about Rotom Wash, is that its status is, like, you could send in your Salazzle hoping to get poisoned or Toxic, trying to make a bold prediction, and instead you might get Thunder Waved, and then your Salazzle might be useless. If you're not carrying a Cleric, then Rotom Wash might just Power Hack your Pokemon down. It might also burn your physical type attackers till the point that they can't do any damage to my team, and give my setup sweepers an opportunity to set up and sweep. But I took all the weaknesses into consideration. I took the fact that Rotom Wash's physical attack isn't really the best, so I decided to pick up Ferrothorn. Now, between Ferrothorn and Rotom Wash, I have a lot of utility. I already have Hazard Removal, Spikes, Stealth Rocks, a good physical attacker, a good special attacker, and walls that can either be special or physical. Ferrothorn, of course, is another Pokemon with only 2 weaknesses, only being weak to fighting and 4 times weak to fire. But it has so many resistances. Most notably, it resists Grass 4 times, which is great because it and Rotom Wash form such an incredible core, which JJ Bizzle in the DGBA Season 4 channel actually mentioned. He said these form an incredible core, and I do have to agree. These are an incredible core. Rotom Wash being able to switch on with fire type attacks, Ferrothorn being able to swap out on grass type attacks. So much utility as I get Rock, Stealth Rock, Spikes, Leech Seed, and Ferrothorn gives me a knockoff user. If you guys do not know, I also play in a league called the PBA, which was of course hosted by me. And long story short, I don't really have a good answer to Violet Pokemon or Pokemon that are good with an item. The only responses for that is Trick Gardevoir or knockoff Tangela, so that's literally what I'm running with. But Ferrothorn gives me a good knockoff user, and its Gyro Balls hurt quite a lot, surprisingly, especially if you get like base 150 Gyro Balls, then that can hurt quite a substantial amount. As I said, I can set up Rocks and Spikes, which can help my setup sweepers, or just my sweepers in general. In fact, the next Pokemon after this is a sweeper, but for 12 points it wasn't picked up in round 2. I was surprised because it's a very good Pokemon, usually gets picked up in round 2, but of course this is a points draft, so many people were trying to just get the biggest nukers they possibly could, and then try and draft some bulk with, try and draft some cheap bulk, I think. But I decided to pick up a very good core, and this core did very good against the team. Something that a strategy I deployed in this that I haven't deployed in any other league is that I looked at other people's teams and I tried to draft on their weaknesses. Now, of course, there's a bit of a risk in this because I only play 9 people this season, so I had only a 50% chance of actually saying, okay, I'm going to draft this Pokemon because it's good against you, and I'm actually going to play you. But the risk was worth the reward because Ferrothorn and Rotom Wash match up surprisingly well against a ton of teams, of course, because it's a really good core. In hindsight, possibly could have picked up Scizor because it still was on the board, but I mean, I don't know, I think that Ferrothorn giving me the spikes and Stealth Rock is going to be very nice for my team, because my next Pokemon is Terrakion, which is actually my Z user. I forgot to say this, but Terrakion is my Z user, and I wanted to pick up another Pokemon as a Z user, but I'll say that later. But Z Terrakion is just very good, even if it is only a Fighting Stab and Rock Stab, and maybe 1 or 2 other coverage moves that get powered up because of a Z move. That's still great. Being able to Rock Push and Sword Stance, being able to Dual Dance, as soon as this thing gets up a Sword Stance and a Rock Push, you might say as well, like, might as well Rage Quit because nothing is going to be living this thing at +2 attack and +2 speed. It's an incredible wall breaker, and always when I've been preparing for it, I struggled, so I decided, you know what, enough of the struggle, I don't want anyone else to pick up this powerhouse, I want to pick it up. So Terrakion is on my team for 14 points, which is pretty good if you ask me. It's got 108 base speed, which is superb because it outspeeds those 105s. And it's not that bad for its bulk. I believe it's got like base 90s, which really it can tank. It can probably tank a coverage like grass or water type move specifically for the Terrakion because actually it's kind of bulky. It gives me another setup. Another Stealth Rock user if I do want to use it, and like I said, just being my Z user is just really good because I can power up my close combats, my stone edges, and I really cannot wait to use Terrakion. I think that is going to be doing a lot of work, especially because it helps give me some offense that in most drafts I've been lacking. Terrakion's got like base 130 attack or something, so this thing will literally nuke teams. It's got one of the best offensive type coverages. I said that wrong. It's got one of the best offensive typings, being fighting and rock. There are very few things that can really reliably switch into this Pokemon, and even if it is resisted, it's still, your switching is still going to be taking a hefty chunk from a Stone Edge or a close combat from Terrakion. But anyway, on to my next pick. I realized that Psychic types or Fairy types might be a little bit of a nuisance for my team, so I decided, you know what, let's get something that's going to cover them both. Let's pick up the Alolan Muck. So, I did already say that I had a knockoff user in Ferrothorn, but it wasn't Stab. I wanted a Stab knockoff user, and Alolan Muck did the job, because it's great being able to knock off an item, but I want to do damage as well, so Alolan Muck was the Pokemon to go, only having one weakness, which really works well. It formed a gorgeous core with Rotom Wash. Only Pokemon that can break through it is Mold Breaker Pokemon, or things that can set up gravity, or things like that. Because it does resist grass type attacks. Rotom Wash is of course immune to ground type attacks unless it's Mold Breaker or Terrible. So that's a really good core. Alolan Muck also can trap Psychic type Pokemon. I mainly drafted this Pokemon for MX3 and his Victini because even going into this league, I was like, okay, he's gonna pick up Victini, and he was the person behind me, so I was kind of gonna pick up Victini just for the sheer fact I knew he wanted it. But unfortunately, I didn't pick up Victini and he got it, but if the fire stuff would be create, then I can pursue Trap It, as well as a lot of Psychic type Pokemon. And the good thing about Psychic type Pokemon is that most of them don't get good ground coverage. You usually have to run Hidden Power Ground, and by that stage you're just better carrying Dazzling Gleam, because like HP ground might be 10 base power more damage to my Alolan Muck, but that's like, you're literally sacrificing a move just to do like an extra like 5% to my Assault Vest Alolan Muck. It's got two great abilities in Poison Touch. Poison Touch is great because my poison jabs, my stab of poison jabs, excuse me, will now, instead of dealing a 30% chance of poison, will now be a 51% chance. That means that the odds are in my favor to get a type 1 poison. If these guys do not know what a type 1 poison is, it basically poisons your Pokemon, or opponent's Pokemon, by 12% every turn. And in some ways it's better than a type 2 poison, because type 2 poison is where you set up like 2 toxic spikes, or you fire off a toxic, or a toxic orb. It's basically where it deals 6, 12, 18, and then 24, so the damage keeps racking up in 6s, whereas type 1 is continuously 12%. But in some ways, type 1 poison is better, and I feel like in Draft League format's better because your opponent's going to be swapping out constantly. Like, for the most part, they're going to be staying in for like maybe at the most 3 or 4 turns, and type 2 poison and type 1 poison still deal 36% over 3 turns, and type 1 poison for 1 or 2 turns if the opposing Pokemon stays in will actually be doing more than a type 2 poison. Kind of confusing, but I think you guys know what I mean if you have ever played with different types of poison before. But it's great to have a Pokemon that rocks and Assault Vest well, and just trap Psychic type Pokemon and Fairy type, well, not Fairy type Pokemon, but trap Psychic type Pokemon that can scare out my Terrakion. But next, I decided to get a Pokemon that can switch into Earthquakes and Earth Powers. Now, it's great having Road and Wash as my ground resistance, but it kind of seemed a bit unreliable, just as I said so many times before, Mold Breaker and Terravolt, so I decided to pick up the Shayday, the Shaman, for 11 points, steal of a deal, and people were constantly questioning me about this Pokemon. They were like, why did you pick up Shaman? You already have Ferrothorn as a grass type. I remember talking to Haz and JP about this. I was like, I'm going to be going away for like an hour or so. If it's my pick, then pick Shaman for me next. And they're like, are you sure? You already have a grass type and a Ferrothorn, but they serve pretty different rules. Ferrothorn spams Stealth Rocks and Spikes, whereas Shaman essentially spams Seed Flares. I can kind of see why they get it mixed up, because they spam stuff that they're good at, but yeah, Shaman just loves spamming Seed Flares. If you're switching is something that isn't fully specially defensive and it gets a -2 Spadef drop, that thing is not going to be appreciating another stab Seed Flare. It's a base 120 move, stab powered, 85 accuracy, which isn't the best, but I mean, if you get a -2 Spadef drop, then after about 2 or 3 Seed Flares, you're going to be OHKOing the biggest responses and switching to Shaman. It also can be a sub-seed set. It can be defensive, it can be offensive, and that's why I love Shaman so much. It's one of those base 100 pixies that you can run defensive or offensive to suit your needs. And my next pickup was my Mega. I didn't want to pick it up this early, but Haz picked it up for me because I believe it was Cav, didn't have a Mega, and didn't have a Fairy on their team. So he picked it up for me just in case he picked up this Mega that I wanted, because it helped out my cores a lot. I'm going to go switch to now. It is Mega Altaria, but Haz picked it up for me just in case Cav picked it up. It did cost 15 points, and I have got it around 6. Of course, Mega Altaria Ferrothorn core is a force to be reckoned with. The only thing that broke through this core that I could see was Ice type, which makes me kind of sad that I didn't pick up Scissor again, because of course Grass and Steel does not resist Ice, whereas Bug and Steel does, and Scissor gave me priority, but oh well. Mega Altaria is a pretty diverse Pokemon, being able to set up in so many different ways, not just as a Dragon Dance Sweeper, but as a bulky Cotton Guard setup Pokemon. Gets access to reliable recovery and Roost. I also forgot to say, but Shaman gets reliable recovery and Synthesis. And it also gets Heal Bell, which is nice. It also is a fairy type move, which I find kind of humorous because of Pixelate. Like, they didn't, Game Freak didn't bother making all just attacking moves fairy. No, they had to make non-attacking moves fairy as well, even though they really don't matter. But I can hit on the physical and special side, a pretty well-rounded Pokemon with like base 110 for defense, attack and special attack, and base 80 for speed. I think it's also got base 80 for HP, but just a very good, well-rounded Pokemon, and not too good in any stat, but not too bad in any stat at all. It gives me my Fairy and Dragon, so if I don't want to pick up a Dragon or a Fairy type, I still have my Fairy, Dragon, Steel Core, and Ferrothorn and Mega Altaria. It also does get Defog this generation, so it is a pretty bulky Defogger, and I feel like I probably will bring Defog in this Pokemon once or twice, just because it actually seems like it has the right bulk to be a Defogger. But my next Pokemon is going to be another Pokemon that appreciates Mega Altaria's Fairy typing, and that is Licky Licky for 7 points in round 7. Now you might be saying, why did I pick up Licky Licky so early? I could have honestly waited 2 or 3 more rounds for this, but you guys do not realize, okay? Licky Licky is like, it's one of those special Pokemon that the DGBA love to draft. It usually goes like round 8 or 9, and this Pokemon is kind of essential for my plan just because it gave me quite a lot. It gave me a good normal type, which of course, as you guys know, normal types are kind of overpowered because they're only weak to fighting type attacks. And already I have my Mega Altaria as a switch into those fighting type attacks, which can take them on really well. It also gave me a Wish Passer, which, as you guys can probably tell, the first 4 picks in my team had no reliable recovery or barely any reliable recovery. So being able to pass fat wishes into those Pokemon would be incredible. It also gets Cloud9, so if opponents try to bring some weather against me, I can clearly shut it down. And Heal Bell's nice, just in case I don't want to bring it on Mega Altaria. And if I fear a team having too much status versus my team, I can always bring Heal Bell if my Alolan Mach or my Terrakion get burnt. Then I can say goodbye to that burn. It also gets, I think, its own tempo, I think this thing gets, which means it can't be confused, which could be kind of interesting and might run with that as well. But generally a very good Pokemon, can be a special or physical wall. Just very bulky and very underrated, I believe. It also has some pretty darn good coverage. It gets like Power Whip and Flamethrower, surprisingly. Some coverage you wouldn't expect it to get, but it's a normal type Pokemon, so it's one of the, so it's a normal type that gets godly coverage. Surprisingly, normal types get like really weird coverage they're not supposed to get. Like this thing, Licky Tongue didn't even get Lick in Generation 1, and now it's getting like Power Whip and Flamethrower. But anyway, on to round 8, I decided to pick up Starmie. Now it's great having all these Defoggers in Ultra Sun and Moon, and it might be cool to have like half your team Defoggers with Defoggers, but you can't beat a good old Rapid Spinner, and I feared that people would try to pick up a Defiant Pokemon, so I decided to go with the good old reliable Starmie, the great spinner it is. It also gives me a switch into fighting type Pokemon, because I kind of noticed with Ferrothorn, Terrakion, and Licky Licky on my team is kind of weak to fighting type Pokemon, and I didn't want to rely on Mega Altaria to take all the fighting type hits. So Starmie is going to be a nice single type Pokemon to take those hits. Helps my speeding, my speed, because it is base 115 speed. And that's kind of the benchmark you want to hit in draft league formats. You kind of want to get between 85 and 115. That is like the sweet spot. You want to get good tiers around there. Anything above or below doesn't really matter, but Starmie, it gets pretty good coverage. This was actually the Pokemon I was debating whether to make this my Z user or Terrakion my Z user, but in the end, Starmie's just going to be a bit more of a bulkier Pokemon with Recover and Rapid Spin for my team. It does get some very good coverage, which is why I was debating making it my Z Pokemon. I guess like Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, Dazzle, and Gleam, I believe, so I can definitely spam some of his coverage moves, and with a Z would be nice. But I've got some pretty cool ideas for what I can do with this Pokemon. I don't want to say in video because my opponents might get some ideas, but all I can say is beware of Starmie. 13 points as well, and I'm surprised it made it to round 8 because I think that this Pokemon is actually one of the best Rapid Spinners. If not, I think it's like the top 2 or 3 Rapid Spinners in the game. It's just very reliable, and of course with a spike spammer like Ferrothorn, I really do not want to clear off my spikes with default as well. I want to keep them up, I want to chip down the team, and I want to get rid of hazards without removing my own. My next pickup was the baby Mammo Swine and Pylo Swine for 6 points. I'm really happy this Pokemon was a Pokemon I got to get, because personally from the PBA, I'm going to be bringing that up a lot, I'm sorry, but from the PBA, I didn't have a ground type Pokemon. It was very hard to switch into electric type attacks on my team. Volt Switch was a very spammable move. And Piloswine just being a very bulky ground type Pokemon is great for my team. Gives me another Stealth Rock user, a priority user of Ice Shard, and it also can, it has the best, if not one of the best type coverages in the game with Ice and Ground. Mamoswine is renowned for its amazing typing, and Piloswine is just the exact same. It is Ice and Ground, and also gets an incredible ability in Thick Fat, meaning that it can sponge Ice and Fire type attacks. I kind of noticed that my team was quite weak to Ice type attacks and Freeze Dry. If the opponent was to spam Freeze Dry for my team, they would break through my entire team. But Piloswine with its Thick Fat ability actually resists Ice and Fire is only neutral. It's got some surprising immunities, considering it is an Ice typing. You wouldn't really think it, but it's just a great Pokemon. Pretty bulky, pretty customizable. Base 100 attack, it seems pretty bad, but with the typing as good as it, you really cannot go wrong. Next up was a Pokemon to round out my Fire, Water, Grass core. Surprised it wasn't picked again. It was a Delphox in round 10, going for 7 points. A steal of a deal. This Pokemon is S rank and NU for no reason. It is my little Harry Potter, and it's going to conjure up some magic, helping me out in my speed tiers being base 104. It's kind of unfortunate because it does get undersped by those, or outsped by those base 105s. But it does give me another Psychic and another Fighting switch in, and who you can't love Delphox. I mean, it's just got quite a lot of utility with Power Herb, Solar Beam, Magician, with Choice Scarf, with Choice Specs, a Can Mine Sweeper, and a lot of coverage. It can even get Grass Knot to hit the Water type Pokemon that can pester it. Side Shot for those Pokemon that are fully specially defensive like Blissey and Chansey to kind of destroy them a bit. And I can also get Trick, so if I'm like running a Scarf, as I said, my Rotom Wash, I can trick it onto the Valley if one that wants to come in. But generally a very good Pokemon, gives me a bit more special offense on my team, which is kind of cool. But the final pick was a Pokemon I needed for my flying resistances, because as of now I only have Rotom Wash as my flying resistance, and that is Tyrantrum, the dinosaur, the prehistoric wall breaker. Tyrantrum's got a base 120, I believe, attack stat, and all I can say is Rock Head, Stab, Choice Band, Head Smash will obliterate all Pokemon that try to switch in. It gives me a flying resistance, and the main reason I decided to pick up this Pokemon was not because of general flying type Pokemon. It was because of Tornadus Therian, because I was looking at my team and I was like, oh crap, if I play Tornadus Therian, I've got nothing for it. But Tyrantrum's great, it resists flying type attacks, and if it is on the physical side that most flying types are, then I can shoot it up very easily. Gives me another Dragon Dance Sweeper alongside my Terrakion and my Mega Altaria in terms of sweeping, and just a Choice Band or Choice Scarf Tyrantrum will really hurt my opponent. I feel like Terrakion may overshadow it when I try to bring it to certain matches, but Tyrantrum is just a very good Pokemon. You don't really need a setup to blow things back, and I just can't wait to use it. So, there have been a few questions about my team as a whole. First question was that first concern was that my team doesn't have enough speed. And I think that's a fair enough statement, but you gotta consider that I've got some really good Scarfers on my team. My team isn't that bad for speed. I've got a base 115, a base 108, a base 104, and a base 100. But you also got to consider that a lot of my Pokemon on my team are really good Scarfers. Rotom's a good Scarfer, Terrakion's a good Scarfer, Shaman's a good Scarfer. Delphox is a good scarfer, Tyrantrum's a good scarfer, so I can bring one of those scarf each week, and I really wouldn't seem like much of a hassle because they're actually really viable as scarfers. And there was also another concern about me having dual typings. I don't really find that much of a concern, just because they're like Farthorn and Shaman, as I said previously, do very different things. So I don't think it's much of a concern that they consist of the same typing. And I feel like this draft, sometimes in the draft, I don't really get that many good wall breakers, but I feel like with Terrakion, with Delphox, with Tyrantrum, with Starmie, with Mega Altaria, I can do well. Also, to answer the speed problem for my team, I've got 3 great setup sweepers. I've got Terrakion that can Rock Polish to raise the speed. I've got Mega Altaria that can Dragon Dance to raise the speed. I've got Tyrantrum that can run Dragon Dance to raise the speed. And I'm pretty sure Starmie, if I'm really out of it to run speed on my team, I can get agility. Plus, also, I'm pretty sure, I don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure I get Trickery with one of my 11 Pokemon on my team. Maybe Starmie, maybe Delphox, maybe Licky gets it. I don't really know. I think one of those 3 get it, but I feel like this is going to be a very enjoyable team to play with. And I'll definitely try and use the method of drafting around other people's teams in the future because it worked out really well. I'm super pleased with how my draft went. I've got some really scary opponents, and my opponent's path will be going up next week. That will be the battle. Thanks guys for this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe down below, and do all that stuff. Also, I'm probably going to be doing a bit of commentary on the DGBA channel, so if you'd like to see that, leave notifications on that channel, and of course, subscribe to it. See you guys in the next video. Goodbye.